All right, hey everyone. I did some work over the weekend on a couple of my projects, and last night I went to film it, and my 2-year-old just was fighting going to sleep, so I didn't actually get to film myself working on them, but I took pictures as I went. So I'm back here in my classroom. I'm going to show you kind of the stuff that I was working on. So as many of you guys saw, I've been working a lot on my guitar kit, and this is not for any customer. This one is just for myself, and it's in the style of like my favorite guitar brand is Gibson. Now I do like Fenders too, and I have Fenders, or I had Fenders. I have a Fender knockoff that I put Fender parts on, but the only Gibson that I have is actually my grandfather's from 1946, and so other than that, the Gibsons don't typically fit in my teacher budget, as I make that joke a lot. But I do have some Epiphones that, Epiphone is their parent company is Gibson, so I've come to love those guitars as well. But this one is in the style of a Gibson ES 335. It is a semi-hollow body, so what that means is you see these F-holes just like you would see on my violins, which make it look like it's all empty inside, but actually it's solid body down here through the middle, so that's why they call it a semi-hollow body. So the only thing I had done prior to this weekend was this guitar originally came in two pieces. I fit the neck in here. Luckily, I didn't have to do that much work to it, so I was able to put it in there, clamp it on there, and I think I posted those pictures once I glued that up. So the next step is to turn it whatever color you want. Now I don't have any blue guitars, so that's the one I went with, and I got from stumac.com, which is where you can get these kits from, where you can get these. It's a concentrated wood varnish or stain, more of a stain really, that you mix with denatured alcohol. And I'll show you guys through here. All right, so kind of what I'm looking at here, this is the unfinished raw wood. Now you can see here a little bit on the edges, it has this white plastic lining all around the edges, and then also around the edges of the F-holes. So the big thing for me to try to avoid was getting the stain on that, because once you have the color on there, you still need to see the accents of white. So the next thing I went to do, let me see if this goes in the right order. All right, yep, here it goes. All right, let me zoom in here. So what I did is I just have like a little folding table that I put my work towel on. So this right here, this is painter's tape. So I went around the outside. Now the lining is, let me see if you can see my mouse from the computer. Not really, but all right. So you can see down here if you can see where my mouse cursor is, that white plastic lining is right here, and then up underneath this tape here. So it's, I don't know, roughly 1/4 of an inch on the side, and then on the top, you only see it about 1 millimeter around there. So the goal is to try to avoid getting the stain on there. For the most part, I did that, and then whatever stain does get on there, I'll go through with the scraper that you've seen me use on the violin and kind of just scrape away what's got on there. But I also have tape along the inside of the F-holes, which was a pain in the butt to do, but you got to do what you got to do. So once I got that on there, I took my blue stain. All right, there you go. Let me zoom in here. And it's a transparent stain, so it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but it still has the wood grain through here. And then what I did was I took the masking tape, or the painter's tape, off and cleaned off a little bit, or as much of that as I could, off of the white plastic lining. I'm eventually going to go through and do a second coat on all of this stuff, but as you can see, it's a pretty blue. I messed with the mixing to get it more of a cobalt blue than, as my wife put it when I first mixed it, a primary wheel color blue. Yeah, it's hard to, you can't really see it on this, but the wood grain's all visible through here, and you will see that once it's all done. All right, so moving along, the next stage for me to do is I wanted to see the gold fittings and stuff, which I really thought is going to look good with the blue. So I just put a couple of things on there to see what it looks like against the blue. All right, let me move this. All right, so I put these two pickups just down in the slots there to see what they're going to look like, and it really does look cool. All right, I'm going to back out just for a second because it got slightly blurry here. All right, so you see these are the two pickups. This would be the neck pickup, and then this would be referred to as the bridge pickup. Now, this guy right here is where the strings are going to go over here. That's going to be our bridge here. That goes in these two holes. Now, the one thing that I don't have that for some reason was missing from the kit is it's got a gold tailpiece. Now, on a regular ES335, you're basically you're not going to have a tailpiece like I'm putting on there. You're going to have just a solid thing right here attached into the body. The one that I'm using that comes with the kit is called a Trapeze style tailpiece, and I'll show you that as soon as it gets in there. I'll try to post a picture along with this. And then up here, this is just one of the tuners that goes up on the head of the guitar. And I was shocked. They're actually called Grover tuners, which is exactly what is on my 1946 Gibson. So I would think that many of the parts, especially these pickups and the tuners, would be very cheap and expensive stuff, but it looks like it's coming with some quality stuff. So even though I have Epiphone pickups, I'm going to attempt to use these gold ones here first just because I like the look of them. And if they don't work, then I'll just swap them out. So it's exciting. And also, this is called the pick guard or the scratch guard. So when you're strumming on with your pick, it hits this instead of the guitar itself. And it's just plain black. It's got a little bit of a protective film over it, so that's why it's not perfectly looking. But I did find online for $6 or $7 I could find some more fancy versions of this, and that's easily to swap out later, so we'll see what I want to do with that. So I already did that. The next stage is excuse me, I went around the sides on the top and the bottom, because now the next thing I have to, you can actually see it right here. So let me move this down just a bit and move off to the side here. You can see I went through and cleaned it out, but in the F-holes here, you see that really thin white line all the way around. That's that same plastic lining that's around the outside. So you're going to see that contrasting with the blue. You can see just a little bit right here, but you can't see it's hidden right here because I went around the sides and I taped off the linings, and you can see right here. Let me zoom in. So I have, again, it's just 3M painter's tape or whatever brand you can use in there. But this is the part that it has the wood, and then underneath this paint is the white linings. So then I did after that, go through and there you go, stained the sides here. Sorry, it looks like I also got a glare from the windows there. But I stained around the sides. Now what I'm going to try to do is leave this tape on, and I'm going to have to go back through here very gently with one of my knives and just try to score a line around that thin millimeter. You can see how thin it is right here. So you're going to have that same white line all the way around the ridge of it. So I can try to get this excess tape off and leave the tape on the white plastic, so I don't have to retape everything when I go back and do a second coat. So I have the top first coat and I have the sides first coat. Now, things that I'm trying to ponder what I want to do is whether or not I want to take that blue all the way up the back of the neck. Here you go. You'll see, here's a couple of my guitars here, but this is, as my students know, this one's called my lovey-dovey because it's called an Epiphone Dove. It's got the dove here, and it's actually the name up here is Dove. But you can see on the back here, Gibson and Epiphone, they like to keep whatever color they're going on the back here all the way up the neck. And you can see it as well on the Les Paul. It's an Epiphone, but I call it Gibson is the name. But this is my, you can see this is a cool little sunburst pattern here, but the main color is the black, and the back of it also is black, and you can see they continue that all the way up throughout the neck. So I got to think of I want to see if that's something that I want to do. Fender is more known for, really, they don't color their headstocks at all, but you can see they just keep a bare wood color on the back of theirs as opposed to, continuing their black and white. And this is a real cheap Fender knockoff that over Christmas break I put actually Fender pickups in there. So it sounds like a Gibson even though it's a Fender knockoff. Some of the big name brands are so expensive that it's often nice to just buy something cheap and make it better yourself. All right, so that's where I'm at with this guitar right now. Now, as far as the violin, I posted a picture of the pegs. I didn't put them into the violin yet because I just started the process where I'm going to be adding color to it. Let me see if this goes right here. Yep. All right, so I took 2 pictures. What I did this weekend was apply a couple of layers of clear coat polyurethane wood sealer / finisher. All right, so it differs slightly from how I would normally do it. I found Shellac has a brand of this, as well as I just bought another one because I'm running out of the Shellac, but it is a fast drying polyurethane wood sealer. Prior to using those, I would there were 2 different ways I would do it. I would add what's called a ground layer, which it's multiple different ways of doing it, and that kind of drove me nuts. The other way, which is traditional for violin making, is they would just take egg whites and they would use that to seal it, because the goal is when you put the varnish and the color on it, you want it to sit on the surface. You don't want it to absorb down in there, so you use a sealer. You want to seal it off first. But you can see here, I mean, you can right here. That is actually the glare from my windows across here. But you can see, like right in here, it's just a very pretty, glossy, clear coat to it. And I did that all along the sides. I didn't do it on the back of the neck because I don't do that on violins. But you can see another coat right here on the top of it. Okay, there you go. All right, so yeah, window glare, and then right here, that's the reflection of the light. But all the other shininess, like right in here, that is just the clear coat. So it just requires just a tad bit of going over with a micro mesh. And what a micro mesh is, if you missed it on other things, it is literally like 2400 grit sandpaper. When you touch it, it feels like leather, but it's because it's such a fine sandpaper. Just to get any any non-smooth surfaces. When I use oil paints to do the colors, so if you have a section of it that is not smooth, or as smooth as you can get it, then the paint's not going to sit there as well. Well, I mean, it'll sit there, but you won't be able to spread it out as much as you will on the glossy surfaces. So the next stage with this, again, go over it, and then I'm going to start with adding colors of yellow, and when I do that, I'll explain why. But that's where I am with the violin and my blue ES 335. So yeah, I'll try to film myself working on a little bit of this throughout the week so that I don't have to rely on doing it on the weekend and have the epic fail with my kid not wanting to sleep. So hope you guys have a great week. Make sure I'll add these pictures in on the form. You don't have to answer anything. Just on the last question on the Microsoft form, just add your first name, last name, and your homeroom teacher's name. And I'll see you guys next week.